Hi everyone, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters and thank you for joining me for a Kitaholic Kits design team layout. So for this layout, I decided to pull out that gorgeous stencil we received and to have a little bit of a play with that. So what I'm first doing is masking off a bit of a border. I'm measuring about, no I'm not, it's not about, I'm measuring it, so it is 5 centimeters. So I'm measuring a 5 centimeter border all the way around my page with some washi tape. Now this washi tape will not stay. It is just to help mask out the area I'm going to be adding the ink to try and prevent any ink moving into the white space where I don't want it to go. So I'm just laying all of this down all the way around to make a square, a 5 centimeter border square. So here I go. It was a little bit of a slow process because I am such a perfectionist. If you weren't such a perfectionist, you could absolutely lay this down a little bit quicker. Or if I had have known exactly where my brain was heading and what direction my brain was heading to create this layout, which I'm sure most of you have seen from the thumbnail or from my shared post in Facebook, I actually didn't need to worry because I end up covering so much of the border that I didn't need to measure it out so perfectly at all. So once that is all finished, I'm actually going to mask my stencil down onto the page as well, onto my desk, just so it doesn't move either. Then I'm pulling the super gorgeous Heidi Swap inks that we got in the kit and just my Kmart makeup sponges or makeup brushes. I'm going to use those to blend in the inks through the stencil. I'm using all 3 colours and just sort of having a play with where they go. No real rhyme or reason to it, to be honest. Just spreading them out amongst the page and then making sure I use all 3 colours. And then obviously I will move the page and do it again in the next section of my 12 by 12. Now it's going to take about 4 turns to do this just to get this all completely filled. I kind of match it up as best I can, and then because I don't want to clean my stencil in between takes, I'm just going to pop the same color in approximately the same location. As I said, just purely because I don't want to end up with a smudgy kind of brown color by mixing the inks across the stencil. So I'm just keeping it super simple and lining up my colors in the same place. You could probably give your stencil a super quick wipe down with a baby wipe, or even just like a soft, sponge or tissue, just to sort of pick up a whole bunch of that excess ink that is on top of the stencil, so then you wouldn't be restricted to where you put your colors. Now, for those of you that are playing along at home, you may have noticed that the very first time I used the stencil, I left a little teeny white border. The next time, and from now on when I'm using the stencil, I'm actually stenciling all the way off the page. Personally, I think that looks better, and I highly recommend you do that if you're going to do it yourself, not leave a white gap around the edge. But whichever way you go, because both ways look fine, white gap or no, around the very, very, very edge of the page, make sure you're consistent. So for me, I've got one side of the page, the first side I did, with a little white gap, and then the other 3 sides of the page without one. And to me personally, that does not look great. So that is where my first problem arises when going to create with this particular piece of paper. I don't like that one of my little sections has a white border while the others don't. To me, it stands out like a sore thumb that there is a little bit of difference there. So how am I going to combat that, you ask? Well, bear with me as I finish blending this last little section and I shall show you. I'm going to do a magic trick and come back with my 12 by 12 ready to start working on. So there it is there, and if you look closely you can see the section down at the bottom right had a little border. So here's what I meant when I said I didn't need to worry about measuring out my square so perfectly. I've ended up not using half as much of my frame and really covering quite a bit of it up. So what I did, this used quite a lot of white paper actually. I got a white 12 by 12. I trimmed the piece of paper that I stenciled on to cut off the extra border that didn't need to be there. And so I've matted it on another piece of white 12 by 12. So there's a white 12 by 12, then there's my stenciled piece of paper with a little smidge of a border. Then I've put another white 12 by 12 on top, and it is cut down again, as you can see, to about 11 by 11. And then I have sewn all the way around the edge of my 11 by 11 piece to finish it off. So you can see here why I really didn't need to bother about measuring out that stenciled edge perfectly to the 5 centimeters, because I certainly did not use it the way I had first intended. I have then since collected 3 different pieces of pattern paper that I cut the same height as my photograph, which is 3 inches, but in different widths. I also sewed around the edge of those. I turned one into a little tag by punching a hole in it and adding some string, and the others I've just left as squares. Now I have adhered all 3 of those down across my page with my photo popped up on foam in the center. I am now going to add a little bit of ephemera. So I cut the one and only piece of ephemera we had that was floral in half. Obviously, we had sticker sheets and things like that, but it was the only paper ephemera we had that was floral. So I've cut it in half to add 2 layers of that sticking out behind my photograph. And then I'm going to have a little play with the puffy stickers and the chipboard. So I'm adding some puffy sticker florals. I'm adding some chipboard florals. I've put my little title there of hello. I am also adding that super cute little ladybug because it's gorgeous. A little bow because why not? And then pulling out a couple of those little gold hearts just to tie in that word hello and the gold color as well. I really loved creating this layout. It was so simple yet so effective. I loved the colors. I loved that border. I thought that was just gorgeous. And then a few little gold splatters to finish it off. And isn't she striking? That border is just divine. So I loved playing with my stencil and my inks and just layering up this little floral cluster here at the side. I was really happy with the way this layout came together. And I will add some journaling as well later on down the track. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic week.